Wow, that's fun. Good. The First Decade Award. The first decade is always that tough one when you're coming out of school, trying to find yourself, trying to find the right place. And we recognize those alumni that have distinguished themselves in their field within the first 10 years of graduation. Rachel Johnson, would you please join us up here? Rachel graduated from Hamline in 2012 with a BA majoring in political science and Spanish. She has more than 7 years experience working with victims of child abuse, sexual assault, and domestic violence, both domestically and internationally. Through professional and grant-supported initiatives, she is a forensic interviewer and professional trainer at the First Witness Child Advocacy Center in Duluth. She also works with the Safe and Strong Prevention Program, which educates children, families, first responders on how to recognize and respond to child abuse. Rachel is currently assisting in the prevention curriculum development for a statewide release by the Minnesota Children's Alliance. Rachel serves as a national faculty for the Child First Forensic Interview Program and is currently training in Greater Minnesota and New York State. That means you are training others.
Yep, training friends. Yes.
Okay, I had the script, I had to make sure I had it. Thanks. Rachel is passionate about improving institutional and systems responses to victims of violence by synthesizing the experiences and voices of victims at all levels of decision making, believing that community and interpersonal responses must be shaped by the recognition of intersecting identities. Rachel lives in Duluth, Minnesota, not Georgia as I heard this morning. I am pleased to present Rachel with the First Decade Award. Thank you.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's such a pleasure to be here. First of all, thank you so much to the Alumni Board for recognizing me and for inviting me to be here today. I do have a few guests that I wanted to recognize first, and a few thank yous also to some people that were extremely influential to me during my time here at Hamline. So my parents are here from Duluth. My professor, Maria Jesus Leal, who nominated me for this award. Gracias. And then 2 of my friends that are also alumni from the same year, Rula Alcatude and Surya Bogani. So I want to recognize them first. I really echo a lot of the comments that were shared both by Dr. Costa Hopa, Dr. Miller, and also Mr. Mastaf as well. In terms of your experiences at Hamline and the connections that were made through that. And so I think it's so important for me to first express gratitude, not only for Professor Leal, but also for Dr. Sharon Preeves in the sociology department. She was my advisor in my sociology degree, and also Karen Vogel through the political science department that I got to work with. Della Zurich, who was an adjunct professor here at Hamline, was extremely influential during my time here, and also Jane Krenz, who managed the McVeigh Youth Voice Partnership, which I had the extreme privilege of being able to be a part of that program for 3 years while I was at Hamline. It's so amazing because my first 5th grader that I ever met, and this is actually like making me a little teary, I'm sorry, but my first 5th grader that I ever met when I worked in the McVeigh program is a freshman at UMD this year, up in Duluth, where I live, and I've gotten to spend time with her and talk to her about what her dreams and her goals are. She came here as a crime refugee as a young woman, and now is fully enrolled in UMD and pursuing her dreams. And it's a result of really the creation of that partnership and the funding through McVeigh to be able to go and do that work. I also was able to, for 4 years, I got to do the Mahdi United Nations program, which Joe was also part of leadership with that as well with me. That completely shaped the person that I am today, getting to learn about international politics, diplomacy, coalition building, things like that. And under Dr. Costa Hopa, I did collaborative research 2 years. I went to an institution that allowed me to do sexuality research as an undergrad, which is pretty amazing, and Dr. Sharon Preeves was my advisor for that. And I also did a research study with Professor Leal looking at representations of transgender identity in Spanish film. I will say this too, I just recently presented at a conference for my work in child abuse prevention work, and I actually used some of the quotes from my undergraduate research that looked at the intersection of sexual abuse experience and construction of sexual identity in my work now as a professional, pulling some of the testimony from some of the people that I had interviewed as an undergrad. So I would really echo what you had shared, that being able to create that research instrument and participate in that completely, I still am utilizing that both in terms of having the skills to be able to conduct professional research, but also literally the research studies that I did, I invoke in my work day to day as a child abuse forensic interviewer. Also, Dr. Miller, I have to say, I was also going to talk about free air. You beat me to it before. So I work for First Witness Child Advocacy Center now. What I love about what I do is I am a child abuse forensic interviewer, so my job is to listen and talk to kids about all forms of maltreatment after a substantiated accusation of abuse has been made or alleged form of maltreatment has been made. So I interview kids about everything from sexual abuse to drug endangerment, to witness to domestic violence, other kinds of crimes. I'm currently wanting to start a project right now looking at how we include psychological maltreatment when we're talking about the abuse experience and construction of maltreatment. What I love about what I do is that it completely embodies everything that I learned at Hamline. I never had the opportunity to divorce myself from what the real lived experience is of children and families that I work for. I don't use the word client in my work because I serve children and families. And that's a value that I really learned from my experience here at Hamline, whether it was working with the McVeigh program, doing collaborative research, doing things like Model United Nations. There was always a pressure put on the ability to create connection between what you're learning on a theoretical level in the classroom to how you're actually applying that and engaging that and invoking that in your experiences and your interactions with people. So one of the ways that we embody that where I work is that we use the Praxis for Social Change model, which is the free area dialogue model, where basically all of our work is completely informed by what the experiences are of the children and families that we work for. Part of that is, despite it not being funded, we are rolling out a statewide prevention education program through the Minnesota Children's Alliance that really looks at how we give children the tools that they need and the language that they need to identify the difference between safe and unsafe touch, body sovereignty, and healthy boundaries. We are one of the only states that is doing this, and it's an absolute pleasure to be a part of that project. I have nothing but gratitude for my experience that I had at Hamline and for all of the tools and capacity that it gave me to be prepared to have these professional experiences. So thank you so much, thank you for the time, and thank you for sharing this experience and for really creating this really beautiful network both nationally and internationally of people that are doing really meaningful work out in the community and are actively engaged in the reality that we live in and the people that are around us. So keep serving, and thank you so much for being here.